You've probably heard you can make thousands and thousands with Airbnb, but then you've realized, wait, do I need to buy a property? Or even worse, do I have to sign a lease and furnish someone else's place just to get started? The truth is, you don't need to do either. In this video, I'm going to break down Airbnb co-hosting versus rental arbitrage, what they are, how much you can actually make, what the risks are, and why co-hosting might be the smartest way to start Airbnb in 2025, especially if you don't have a ton of money to invest up front. Let's understand what arbitrage and co-hosting actually look like, because I have done both and I have made over $4 million in revenue from Airbnb. I personally have a portfolio of properties that I own, some that I manage and co-host, others that I rent and re-rent, which is known as Airbnb Arbitrage. They together do well over $1 million a year in revenue, and I've been doing this for over half a decade. Now I'm gonna break down, the specific business models within Airbnb, starting with rental arbitrage. So for rental arbitrage, in simple terms, you lease a property from a landlord long-term, a year, 2 years or more, and then you furnish it and rent it out on a nightly basis on platforms such as Airbnb. You then have a hospitality business where you handle guest communication, marketing, bookings, cleanings, and overall operations. You're able to pocket the difference between the monthly rent you pay the landlord and what you're earning after operating expenses from guests. With co-hosting, you partner with property owners who want some extra income, listing maybe their vacation homes or rental properties that they own, platforms such as Airbnb and other short-term rental websites like VRBO, but they don't want to deal with the day-to-day management. It's your job to handle things for them. This can include, creating the listings, guest communication, cleaning, coordination, maybe help with maintenance. In return, you get a percentage of the booking revenue with virtually no upfront investment. Again, this can be kind of fluid as you are effectively a contractor for the homeowner who's helping them. So the exact terms can vary, but the key thing here is you don't have an upfront investment. Now let's break down how much you can make. Let's just say you rent a 2-bedroom apartment for $2,500 a month. That place earns $5,000 a month, and your other costs like utilities, supplies, Airbnb fees, and cleanings are $1,000. Then you can net $1,500 a month, which sounds solid. But you're also one covering all the bills and risks. So imagine your Airbnb only actually makes $3,000 a month. In arbitrage, you'd still owe the $3,500 in rent and expenses, leaving you short $500, which we have to go out of pocket. And a lot of times what I've seen is folk make money during the high season. The summer's good, but then the winter can be very, very bad. And they don't make enough in the high season and stock it away and save it to cover some losses during, the low seasons. So now with co-hosting, you don't pay rent, you don't buy furniture. If the property earns $5,000 a month and you get a 20% co-hosting fee, you make $1,000 with zero overhead. You might pay for software and stuff like that, but it's not, it shouldn't be thousands of dollars a month. You make $1,000 a month and with minimal overhead. And if there's a month with slow bookings, you shouldn't go into the red as you don't owe rent. So let me explain in detail why arbitrage is actually riskier than it seems and the truth that nobody is talking about. First of all, there's going to be high upfront costs for you. You have to pay first month's rent, security deposits, decor. This might easily add $10,000 to $15,000 per property, and that's either money out of your pocket or debt that you are accruing. Number two is you have fixed expenses. Rent and utility bills are due every month, even when the booking's slow. Even if you're renting your property for 1 month furnished at a time, there's still probably gonna be some degree of seasonality. So you signed a 1-2 year lease and your landlord wants to raise your rent after your lease ends, and that can squeeze your profits. Number three is hidden landlord and property issues. Like, you are not in control of the property. So let's say your HVAC breaks down in the middle of summer. It's 100 degrees right now in New York and a lot of the East Coast. So your landlord delays repairs. He has an HVAC vendor that he likes working with who's 3 weeks out, but he trusts them. So even though your guests are canceled or they're asking for refunds, you're still stuck paying the rent without revenue. You could have a great landlord who takes care of things fast, but people are people, and that is a huge variable that I want you to be cognizant of. And number four is going to be market saturation and competition. This game oftentimes is a game of supply and demand, and increased competition forces you to drop your prices dramatically, which can cut your profits. I'm gonna give an example, and I'm gonna share something that has happened with me, which is another operator launches a bunch of units, listings down the road from you that are similar to yours. So this causes you guys to both need to decrease your rates. Competition decreases your margin and forces you into a price war that you can't afford. Number five is a debt spiral. A lot of people have the temptation to scale fast with multiple 0% APR credit cards, or maybe even loans. In this game, a lot of people they leverage credit cards to take advantage of their 0% APR periods. Oftentimes they're about a year. So the hope is that you pay back this credit card loan in a year. But sometimes folk don't have this luxury and they keep using credit cards to expand the inevitable. This risks financial disaster because let's say 1-2 things go out of whack and you might be left with 6-figure debt with interest that starts accruing. Definitely don't want to get into that situation. Number 6 might be legal and regulatory risk. Let's say new regulations restrict or prohibit short-term rentals, and your property becomes unprofitable overnight, and you still might contractually be obligated to pay the full rent. So this unpredictability can cost big price, and yes, it is risky. Now, let's look into why co-hosting is safer and, arguably smarter for some real scenarios. Benefit number 1 is minimal operational burden. Co-hosting focuses on helping the owner by listing and marketing their property, organizing bookings, guest communication, and coordinating maintenance, not property ownership or dealing with financing. The owner typically, bears the cost of repairs, maintenance, and emergencies. If a guest damages furniture, you might help the owner by coordinating repairs or doing an air cover or Airbnb claim. However, ultimately, you don't accrue the cost. Number 2 is reduced legal and regulatory risk. Property is owned by the owner and operates within a specific jurisdiction. So generally speaking, it is the owner or who's in control of the asset who is responsible for compliance with zoning or short-term rental regulations. Oftentimes, you might help them with the permitting process or guide them, but generally it's gonna be on them to actually make sure that everything is kosher. Number 3 is scalability. Because you don't carry the financial and contractual commitments on the property, co-hosting lets you quickly scale your operations. You can onboard new properties, leveraging existing processes without having to pay new security deposits for leases, to furnish entire properties out of your pocket or credit cards. So if a new opportunity emerges, you might be able to add several properties at once with literally no money required. So new opportunities emerging do not set you back. So this flexibility may allow you to scale your business and income. Benefit number 4, and again, I think this really is the biggest one, is lower financial risk. Co-hosting involves no upfront investment in property or furnishings. You don't carry the burden of monthly leases, mortgages, hefty initial startup costs. This can significantly reduce financial stress and make starting easier and safer. Number 5 might be more stable income. As co-hosts typically earn a percentage-based management fee, your income is directly tied to booking revenue. You're not going to have months where you owe massive, rent expense where you're not making that income. While yes, you will have seasonality yourself, undeniably, you're not going to have those same heavy fixed monthly costs. And of course, co-hosting isn't without its challenges. You might depend on property owners' responsiveness and cooperation. Also, these properties might be the homeowner's vacation home, and they might have some degree of attachment towards it. Your 2 customers here are going to be the guests, but also your owners, and you're going to have to manage relationships with everybody involved. However, compared to the stress of paying fixed leases every month, maybe dealing with a delayed text from an owner is a simpler problem to handle. So now I'm gonna break down the numbers of arbitrage and co-hosting using BNBCalc. So what I'm gonna show you right now is the financial differences between arbitrage and co-hosting using BNBCalc. So I'm here on Zillow. My type of business, whether it's arbitrage or whether it's co-hosting, I like to do, higher end properties. So in Austin, it's gonna be a 4-bedroom and it's gonna be one with a pool. So let's see how much is rent. Let's kind of go through this real quick. I'm gonna find a house near-ish to the city, picking a pretty random one, but this one right here looks good. And 6 bedrooms, it's huge. Rent's expensive, but it's got a nice backyard. And first I'll do an arbitrage analysis. Let's try the address itself. Pasted this in here, importing. So here it estimated the monthly rent at $6,800. So what we've got here is the arbitrage report. The rent is actually $6,000. Let's look at the comps. I'm curious how much we think this one can actually make. Looks like there are some pretty high performers in the area. Let's check out this one, doing over 200. I mean, this one is nice, but is it that nice? If the owner actually put money into the exterior amenities, it looks like there's room for pickleball court, mini putt. They made this area a lot. They have so much backyard. This is actually would be an insanely good property if the landscaping outside was optimized, as well as probably more games on the inside. If you added, maybe a movie theater or some sort of interior amenities, that would really help. Let's just, for all sakes and purposes, say, it'll do kind of just below this one, which maybe, I don't know, there's so many. There's a lot to pick from. This one's doing 165, but let's just, maybe push this up a little bit. We're at 700 ADR, which is honestly, I think this is pretty optimistic, unless, again, some money was put into this property and the exterior and amenities were added to the interior. But we're at annual revenue of 163,000. And then when we come down here, we're doing, if we come through all of our OpEx, which we're probably going to need to increase. This is a big property. It's in Texas, so probably $500 of expenses, maybe 150, 200 water, maintenance, probably a little bit higher. It's a big house. Insurance, supplies, pest control, another 50. Let's just save this here. And, pretty good. If we're, coming out with $4,000 a month in terms of the upfront, again, as is, honestly, I think the house would really need to be spruced up a bit. So if the owner wasn't going to do this, we would add games. We would have to do, frankly, a lot. I would probably estimate kind of have to go higher end to beat the competitors. So you see that right there would mean that our initial cash investment was about $100,000. I mean, it's a big space. It's 5,000 square feet. So, I think we would probably have to add a lot of interior amenities, a lot of furniture on the exterior as well. But even if we were more on the moderate end, that's an initial cash investment of nearly $60,000. So even if the property's profiting $60,000, it will take us over a year, inclusive of the first month's rent. It'll take us over a year to pay back the initial cash investment. So this is, again, arbitrage. We're projecting, after spending 60 grand here, 56 grand. So about $4,633 a month of profit, roughly a 1 year payback period. So now we're going to do that same property. So co-host analysis, again, it's going to plug in this information. It's a co-host analysis. So simple accounting, guys, a lot easier. We have the revenue times the co-host commission equals the annual revenue. So we have $33,000 of profit, breaking that down, $2,700 a month. The owner obviously is compensated very well here, as they should be. They own the property. So you're making almost $3,000 a month. Sure, if you were arbitraging the property, you could be making $4,000 a month. So there's $4,633 a month versus $2,727. What's the big difference? Well, you have to spend $57,000 to get the place set up. You're not even making your money back in a year. Whereas here, you're not worrying about all that. Again, no initial investment, just straight co-host commission. So yeah, you can use BNBCalc and you can run the numbers on properties yourself and kind of get an idea of what the potential is, whether it's arbitrage, co-host, and kind of what the risk reward outlooks looks like. All right, so I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Hope it gave you some food for thought. Happy to answer any questions, and make sure to subscribe here, as I want to share videos, content that is helpful for you and your real estate and business journey.